What's going on, guys? We're here with Dr. Robb Kelly, another episode of Divine Potential. But today, I'm just so excited to dive into this man's journey. It's just a journey about, the depths of addiction to becoming a global recovery expert. It's just like it's incredible, and he covers it in this book called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. Really encourage you guys to just check it out. But Dr. Robb has helped over 5,000 people reach sobriety, and he's living proof that recovery is possible. And another cool little tidbit about him is that he actually played bass at Abbey Road Studios with Elton John and Queen, and he went from there to living in homeless in the Piccadilly Gardens. Where exactly is that? That's it. Well, Manchester, but
To England, yeah, right in the city centre.
right in the city. Okay, I got you. But yeah, guys, Dr. Kelly, he's seen the extremes of the human existence. So his story is raw, it's heart-wrenching, but it's super incredible and it's super inspiring. So today we're just gonna dive into his personal journey and the insights of the psychology of addiction and his groundbreaking methods for recovery. So if you ever doubt the power of resilience and faith, I really think that this episode's gonna change your perspective on that. So, Dr. Robb, I appreciate you. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Daniel. It's great to be here. Hey, guys, if you've got a chair nearby, sit down. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I guess just obviously want to encourage people to buy the book, but I was just because I feel like this is a podcast about telling stories, incredible stories of just resilience. So, if you could just kind of give us a look into like what the last several years or just like what it was like growing up and then just like from, there to where you're at now. That'd be great just so the audience knows who they're dealing with.
Of course, man. So mine's Dr. Robb Kelly. I specialize in addiction, alcoholism, childhood trauma, depression, PTSD, and all of the above when it comes to psych. I'm a double PhD. I have a PhD in psychology and a PhD in behavioral science, which I took about 9 years ago because we had to start using Zoom. I grew up in Manchester. There's a couple of famous football clubs over there. I grew up in what a place called Moss Side, which is very, very rough, full of gangs. All my friends are dead through heroin or alcohol back home. So I grew up learning how to fight and how to be streetwise, and took my first drink at the age of 9. I see my musical family pushed me on stage at the age of 9. I was playing bass guitar, my auntie and uncle. I was getting paid for it, so kind of professionally playing at the age of 9. But I took my first drink there, and then looking back, it was kind of a ticking clock to where it actually all went wrong. So we'll get into it later, but that pushed me into intense studies about the brain, the mind, alcoholism, and addiction as a whole, because what people know about today about alcoholism is not true. What the general public know about it's not true. There's some myths out there, all about alcohol. Well, alcohol's got really nothing to do with it. So yeah, I grew up on the projects, playing in bands, ended up at a session in Abbey Road for about a year. I played tracks with Bowie, Queen, Elton John, all them great guys of the time. Some fantastic times. Got introduced to cocaine there, which was pretty cool. I always say I'm an alcoholic, but I like drugs too. But I can take morphine, anything now. It doesn't set me off or any painkillers I need to take. So it's purely alcohol with me. And just getting through school, I was always one of those people who kind of landed on his feet. I got into with a best friend of mine. His dad was a Freemason. So at the age of 16, they were having a huge bash party with everyone in the country coming to this lodge. And they never had an organist died about 3 months before it happened, and they didn't have a replacement. And they were all old people. So they asked me would I come in and play, but before I come in and play, I had to become a Freemason. It was just crazy. So from that friend of a friend, I got into college and things seemed okay for me. I'd come off the projects. I was living in a nice house, cars with my wife. My drinking was now every day. And then we had the first child, swore I'd never drink again. It lasted 4 hours. Second child, swore I'd never drink again, lasted 6 hours. And it just went on from there until the madness started when I'm drinking every day because I couldn't see it. I thought, hey, must be, functioning drinker. Don't ever call me an alcoholic. I was disgusted with that. Because I know an alcoholic is. He's on the street corner, getting stood around a fire with a big coat with string around his waist. Oh, they're all singing four-part harmonies and stuff. I've seen it on the TV. That's not me. I'm not an alcoholic, but unfortunately I was. Soon enough, everything got taken away from me, and some horrific children got taken away. The saddest moment of my life to date is still the time they took my children off me because of what my eldest daughter said to me. And then homeless. That was it. Lost everything. When looking back, it was over a 6 or 7 year period, but looking back, it kind of, for me personally, because when I was homeless, still didn't think I was an alcoholic. Just thought that things are going wrong. I was on the streets the first night. I just got back home second. Everything would be good. But she changed the locks and called the police when I came on the property. So parents did the same. Brother and sister disowned me. And it just went downhill from there for me. And then one day I was like, shit, where did it all went wrong? And I'm sat on a bench in the middle of Manchester, right in the city centre where all the shops are, on a bench there called Piccadilly Gardens. And I was shocked that that was my life.
Yeah, yeah,
That,
man.
that's what it took.
I remember in the book that I was actually was talking about like that interaction where you know there's two that kind of stuck out, well, a few different instances that really stuck out in my mind. When it was with like your kids and your wife, it was the one with the movie theater incident,
Oh,
where
yeah.
yeah, and then where I don't know if you wanted to like explain that a little bit, or we can go on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
We can get into anything here, Daniel, really sort of open book kind of thing. But yeah, I was trying to, I knew that when I took the kids, ages 1 and 3, by the way, toddlers,
Mhm.
when I took them to the cinema, I could drink because my wife didn't know. As soon as I took them out the house into the car, we stopped at the liquor store, started my first bottle. Gets to the cinema, I was watching some cartoon. And then I suddenly realized that I needed a drink. I finished the first bottle up. So I said to the girls, just stay here, don't do anything, watch the cartoon, daddy will be 1 minute. Went outside and I just said to this security guard, where's the liquor store? He said, oh, this is a dry precinct. We don't have liquor stores on the premises. I'm like, what? And where's the nearest liquor store? It's 4 miles away. So I left the kids, got in the car, drove to the liquor store, got my alcohol, drank it on the way back. Got back in the cinema and all the lights on, the police were there, and it's like, oh, shit. The
Yeah.
incidents like that, I mean, it was just, I mean, in the book, again, I stabbed my wife 3 times one night because she wouldn't let me
Yeah.
finish my bottle of vodka. It's just
Yeah.
that was kind of normal for me, but
Yeah.
obviously looking back, it isn't normal.
Mm-mm. And the craziest part, I think I read there too in the book, is like your wife didn't press charges after that either, did she? No, man,
No, she
that's
did. I don't think the laws changed that they are anymore, but in England, unless you die in a murder, if you get attacked or beaten by somebody and you won't want to press charges, the police can do nothing about it. Unless it's really battering or I don't know. But anyways, I fled to Spain and
yeah.
I wouldn't come back about 3 months. And when the attorney sorted it all out, I could come back, and that's the day she left.
Wow, wow. So what was it like? Because I remember, another main theme I heard in the book too is just like a lot of this, can you can trace it back to like childhood trauma. So could you kind of like, what was it like have you been able to like pinpoint what it was like that has caused you to, I mean, it's, the alcoholism like from your childhood? Have you been able to pinpoint like, I guess, a few events or what that's looked like?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I'm going to say straight out the thing, guys, is this, and you have to go research me. I'm one of the leading specialists in this industry. I write for Harvard University. I teach doctors and stuff. Alcoholics are born, and drug addicts are made. Alcoholics are born with a predisposition. I'm allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. In 3 parts of my brain, hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and the amygdala differ to any other addiction or human brain in the world. So let's get that out of the way. So I was always, if I touched the first drink, it was always going to be over years and years ahead. My brother and sister, it skips generations. They were fine. Although my sister does have an addiction, but it's like cleaning or something like that. It's not really bad. So
Mm-hmm.
to heal from that, you don't look at the alcohol. That's where people go wrong. They go, well, let's just stop the alcohol. Let's just keep you away from a drink. Let's go lock you up for 30 days in a treatment center. It's like, that's not. You can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic, but you can take enough drugs into becoming a drug addict. And we'll explain and get into that for those people going, what the hell? Because that's what most people do until we explain the research and they go, oh my God, that makes so much sense. So childhood trauma is the gateway drug.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has it. But here's the deal. When I ask somebody about childhood trauma, they go, "Oh, my divorce, or was in a car crash once." It's like, no, we're not talking about that. The problem with alcohol and addicts and depressed and PTSD and child is we're very sensitive. So the traumas to us is not that. The traumas to us is not being validated. My parents used to drop me off. They were working class people. Every Friday they want to go out and get drunk. They dropped me off at one of their friends' houses. And as soon as my mum and dad pulled out the driveway, we played what's called the run around naked game. I thought that was normal. I didn't know that was child abuse and sex abuse. I had no idea that was, but I thought that was normal. Now, I suffered with that all my life because I would never take my top off, even when I was bodybuilding. And I won some competitions because I have, that addictive personality as well.
Mm.
But I would never take it off. And intimacy with women, I suffered with that as well. So we have to go back to child and uncover, discover, discard of the traumas. There's always more than one that happened that I think was okay, but later. So if you're doing something there that's not good, if you're acting out, or you can't keep a relationship, or you're not getting that job, that goes straight back to something that happened as a child. Because I tell people now, if you don't think you're capable of doing it, if you don't think that you can succeed in life, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there. Babies are born with $1 million minds, okay? But we end up hanging around 10-cent minds. Babies are born with two fears. Two fears. Falling, loud noises. That's it. The rest are man-made. Wait till your father gets home. If you don't get off that sofa, it's all bullshit that we take on board, and the fear then runs our life. We're run by fear all the time. 99.9% of people, and it's 30 years and about 9,000 something patients with a 98% success rate. We're the only company in the world that offer a money back guarantee if you relapse. And so when you clear all that stuff up, the mind is brilliant. The mind, alcoholic mind, or depressed or mental health, people that get well, that we have brilliant minds. So I got two lives in one lifetime. The first one I messed up. The second one when I recovered. So we take chances. Why wouldn't you go for something that you want, or rather stick in a dead end job that's going to let you go in a year's
Amen.
time? It's like I every chance there are in the book, man. I do. I signed an office deal in Dallas a couple of years ago for $1 million, and my friend said, "How do you sleep at night?" And my reply was, "I died twice in the streets in Manchester. What the hell are they going to do to me that I haven't already done to myself? What?" And I laughed at him, and he's like, "Wow, what a way to live. It's the only way to live. Got
Yeah.
to pull away from that fear, anxiety, and guilt and shame that we carry. It's not yours to carry, guys."
Yeah. 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 No, absolutely. There was even as you were there was a couple because I haven't necessarily been the most familiar with just like alcoholism. Like I don't have anyone in my like near like life that like has been struggling with that. But my parents have had friends, and unfortunately like a couple of them have passed away. Understanding, you said there's a part in your book where it's like it was like you think that I like am pleased, I'm happy that like I like got blacked out or I like spiraled out of control. Like no, like I'm not. I guess it wasn't like I wasn't happy when I did that. Like when I came out of that blackout, realizing too that another thought that I had is like alcohol itself is not the problem, it's the coping mechanism, which I thought that was a game
Yeah,
changer because
yeah,
in my life it's just like at least this is how surface level I used to think about it. An alcoholic, just take it away and it's gonna be all right. But that's just the furthest thing from the truth. Especially after reading your book, I was like, it just opened my mind. But I wanted that kind of leading into like just understanding more about addiction. Like you said, like alcoholism, it's not a drinking problem, but it's like a thinking problem. So it's like let's break that down. And like I know you're going into like neuroplasticity, but would love to hear your take on that.
yeah. It's really interesting, and we're the leading researchers on this deal because there's no money in recovery. If the doctor can't give you a pill, or we can't stick you in a treatment center, nobody wants to know you. I always say to people, have you ever gone to the doctors with an ailment or illness? They give you a pill. You've taken the pill that cured that illness, and you never have to take the medication again. The answer is no. So the food and the pharmaceutical companies kill us. But let's look at the brain. So alcoholics are born with the predisposition, okay? I'm allergic to ethanol in alcohol. Secondly, my basal ganglia, my hypothalamus, and my amygdala. Amygdala is tied to the trauma that I went through. In the subconscious brain, every bit of trauma is there. Every single bit that you can't remember but will have an effect on later life. So there's a way to get rid of the subconscious brain that wakes up first thing in the morning and replace it with conscious brain. I'll go into that when we finish. 100% you can do that. But what happens is there's a part of my brain called the hypothalamus. This only happens in alcoholics. And it's the survival part of our brain. It tells a human being when born that you must drink water and eat food to survive. That's it. It's a working part of the brain. Babies will cry or put their hand down the mouth when they're hungry. It's what we grow up as a survival part. We don't have to think about it. At a certain point of the alcoholic's, I call it drinking career, if you will, the hypothalamus turns around and tells the alcoholic to drink alcohol only to survive. And the reason why it makes so much sense is I could go days or weeks without food or water. And all my kids and everything went second nature because my brain was telling me if you don't drink alcohol, you're going to die. Even though drinking the alcohol will kill me, that's what my brain, and that's the latest neuroscience research that we've been involved with. Then you've got to go over and take the basal ganglia, which is kind of our repetitions part of the brain. If we want to learn to drive, we probably need 20 lessons until it becomes second nature. So when we first drive a car, it's really big, it's huge, you've got to be careful, you're nervous. After a few months, you're taking your test, you can reverse down the driveway, call your mom, wave to the girlfriend, listen to music all at the same time, because that has become a working part of the mind. So basal ganglia for so long, then working part of the mind. What happens with the basal ganglia, though, if you can imagine a clock face, so 12 o'clock I relapse, 10 after I go to some sort of treatment, 20 after I get out, half past the wife comes back, at 22 we get the girlfriend, the job back, and at 10 to we self-sabotage for no reason whatsoever. Nobody can give us a reason. So that's different as well. So unless you go back and heal that stuff and repair it, if you're a real alcoholic, you're going to relapse. And that's the fine line between alcoholics and there's the myth out there that, oh, Johnny around the corner, he drinks every day, he's an alcoholic. Well, first of all, alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world, period. 10 DWIs don't make me an alcoholic, warning from the doctor, nothing like that. It's like when I drink alcohol, something happens to me that doesn't happen to the guy next door to me. And the neuroscience backs that up today. So we've got to look at if you abuse alcohol or just drink alcohol every night and your life is in a mess, stop drinking, you idiot. If your
Yeah.
family's suffering, your wife's asking, stop drinking, you idiot. Don't be calling yourself an alcoholic when you're not. If you can't trace it back 3 generations, man, of alcoholism, and when you take the first drink, can you stop? And the answer is no. Or if the answer is yes, stop doing that. You've got to find out, are you an alcoholic or not? There's a huge difference, absolutely huge difference. Now, drug addiction has the addictive personality. Well, how do we know that? Well, 94%-ish of patients that come to me with a staunch heroin addiction started in the doctor's office. So what we studied was when people are going to relapse, it was all worked out. We'd pick them up, we'd give them money, we'd drive to the dealer, they'd go in, they'd get the thing, get back in the car, we'd drive home and drop them off. But we had them wired, the heart and the head wired. And what we found was, again, the most intoxicating part of that journey was the drive to the dealer. It was not getting it or taking it, or it was the drive, the anticipation. And what happened to me was this. I'm stood outside a liquor store. I think I was homeless at the time. I've got flip-flops, shorts, string vest. That's all I got on. It's snowing and I'm sweating profusely. And I know that if I don't get alcohol or hospital, I may die. The guy, when I was not open, when I was holding the bottle, all the ailments went. Sweating stopped, shaking stopped immediately, and I was in a fantastic mood. I'm like,
But
thanks, Sean. You're amazing, man. Thank you so much.
that alcohol though, it wasn't even in your system yet. It was just in your hand.
No, yeah, bottle not even open. Still had the seal on the vodka cap. By grasping it, everything changed. And it was that moment, Daniel. I looked at the shopkeeper, I looked back at the bottle, and I went, shit, it's not about the alcohol. And that was my big
Wow.
aha moment. Now, I stayed on the streets for another 3 or 4 months before spiritual awakening happened. But yeah, that was my realization of why does everyone keep blaming the drug and the alcohol? because it's not that. And the more we studied and the new neuroscience that come out, it just confirmed what we've been teaching over 30 years is just that, man. You can fully recover, but you've got to understand what you're suffering from. Just
Mhm.
because somebody drinks every day does not make them an alcoholic. It doesn't, guys. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I
it's
think
a myth.
I want to lean into that. So the homelessness, but you had like your mom and dad, your sisters. So like you mentioned in the book that they kicked you out of the house. Like they put you on they wouldn't let you back in. Your dad gave you 20 euros and then he kind of just put you out on your own. And I also do recall another point in the book where I thought this was it was a hot take, I call it, where you were like, the best thing that you can do for your family if you know someone in your family is struggling with alcoholism is like, unfortunately, put them out and like hopefully they will, or I mean,
Yeah.
put them out and so they can come to the realization that I do need help and like I need to tackle this. Like, so it's almost like you need to put someone in a position of like pure desperation so they can actually like have the fire and the motivation to want to recover. Would that be accurate?
You're just enabling. You know, I was going to die in my mum and dad's bedroom because when they split up, I went to mum and dad's upstairs. 3 weeks I was there, they throw me out because of my drinking. You know, I remember my dad walking up and saying, it's like 11 o'clock at night, no drinking in the house. I was drunk again every single night, sneaking out. And he said, you've got to go, son. Now, my dad never spoke, really. You know, he's a very quiet man, very proud man. You couldn't hold a conversation with him. It was just embarrassing. But he came up and said, you've got to go, son. That's what he said to me. I said, Daddy,
Mm.
he said, you've got to go, son. He walked me downstairs, like you said, give me money. But years later, when I'm making something of myself, I'm sat with my mum having a cup of tea. My dad was out with his drinking mates on a Friday, and she said, "Remember that time your dad threw you out?" And I said to her, "I do, Mum. In actual fact, never forgive that man for that, even though I didn't." And do you know what she said to me? What she said to me, Daniel, I broke down, and because I'm thinking it's all about me. You threw me out, da 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 da. She said to me, son, in 56 years of being married to your father, that was the only time I saw him cry.
Yeah.
It struck me in the heart. You selfish, selfish man. And the courage it must have taken that man to throw his son out is just, I don't know, man. I mean, I still tear up now when I think about it. I
Yeah.
put my parents, I really put
Yeah.
them through hell.
But hey, I mean, the great thing though, like read this in the end of the book. I mean, we'll get into this, but just to, save the listeners some suspense. But you were able to rekindle that relationship with your father.
Yes, yes,
So praise God for that. But
yes.
so you spoke about the spiritual awakening and like just how it transformed your life. I really want to get into that, like you called it the deliverance. So could you break down that story and just kind of how like what was the catalyst? What was the turning point?
Well, Daniel, I would never tell this story for 20 years after the fact because I thought somebody was crazy. And the first time I share it, people going, "Oh my God, something like that happened to me." I was so relieved. But yeah, I'm on the streets, seven suicide attempts, two occasions and my heart stopped and they brought me back. One early morning, Monday morning, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., something around that. It's pouring down with rain. I'm walking around the back ends of Manchester, just factories and companies. There's not a house in sight, not a human being in sight. And I dropped down to my hands and knees. It was pouring down with rain. And I started to cry, like an aching cry from my belly. Now, the crazy thing is at the time is I wasn't crying because I'd lost everything, my wife, my kids, my houses, my money. I wasn't crying. Right, right there and then, I was crying because I realized I can't stop drinking. And I looked up to the sky, and my priest molested me. I wasn't into God or anything. But I looked up to the sky, and I don't know why. And I said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. And about 30 seconds later, a guy called Derek came around the corner. He'd missed his last Bible study. He'd missed the last bus home from Bible study. He'd been walking an hour. He takes a shortcut, comes upon me, and he said, you okay? And I said, no, I'm an alcoholic and I'm dying. And without hesitation, he said, come on, you're coming back with me. I'm an alcoholic, I'm a Christian. He took me back to his house. And that's where I thought my journey was started. But the next day he come home and he said, hey, come on, we're going to this AA meeting. And I said, Derek, I can't go. I'm sick of the meetings, man. I just can't go. And he said, well, here's the deal. If you don't go, you can't stay in the house. So I went and I sat there begrudgingly. And long story short, this guy shares, my name's John, I'm a recovered alcoholic. I turned around to Derek and said, what did he just say? And Derek said he's a recovered alcoholic. And I'm pissed at this guy because I just lost everything. Can't recover. There's no cure, they told me, for alcoholism. So after the meeting, I went over and I said, his name was John. I said, hey, John, my name's Robb. Will you sponsor me? And he said, no. And just before I turned around, embarrassed and shameful, he said, I'll be your spiritual advisor for 12 weeks. That's what I did every Wednesday night. I left Derek's at 6. I got there for 7. I couldn't go in before 7, by the way. I had to wait downstairs until 1 minute to 7, weirdo. And then I'd walk up and he'd let me in and we'd talk about God and we talk about the book and we talk about, prophets and stuff like that. And I did that for 12 weeks. So 12 times I've been round to his apartment. And on the last night, he says, got some things to tell you from God. He said, first of all, your life will change tomorrow. And I said, John, I think you're amazing, man, but I'm living in this guy's house called Derek. I'm living in his basement on a blow-up mattress. Not a human being knows I'm there. And he said, Rob, don't worry. It's going to be fine. And I walked home and I felt different and I felt excited. The next day, man, I'm cleaning the house while Derek's at work. And the door goes, it's like 12 o'clock and he walks in. I'm like, Derek, what are you doing home? He's like, hey, the guy, because he didn't know about John, the guy at the factory sweeps the floor, just resigned. Do you want a part-time job? I'm like, hell yeah. So it turns into a full-time job that week. So after 2 weeks, I got my pay packet, which was cash stapled to an envelope back in the day. So I went to the gas station and I bought John a little teddy bear and a card. And I wrote in the card, and I remember it to this day, John, thank you for introducing me to God because he, capital H, took the compulsion to drink away, signed it, put it in the envelope, and I walked to that man's house again. And I'm so freaking excited to show him that what he said is actually coming true. When I got there and knocked on the door, there was nobody there. I knocked that loud that the right-hand neighbour opened the door and she says, can I help you? I said, yeah, does John still live here? What's going on? It looks dark. And she said, I've only been here 3 months. I've never seen anybody called John there, but, I don't really go out. Then to the left hand, knocked on the left-hand door, a bit heavier than I should have done, really. Big guy comes to the door. What do you want? I said, where's John moved to? Because there's no lights in there. He said, John who? And I said, your neighbour, you idiot, the neighbour. He wanted to tell me that that apartment was derelict. And if you actually opened that door and walked in, you'd fall down to the apartment below. There used to be all red tape over it and yellow tape. You could not get in it. So I'm thinking, what the hell? So it goes back to the meeting where I'd met John several weeks before. And as I walked in, the same chairman was there and he went, oh my God, Robert, great to see you again. Well, my heart, thank God for that. You recognize me. And he went, of course we recognize you. Does John still come here? And he said, John who? I said, John, we're over near the coffee machine. I'm asking him to sponsor it. And he said, Rob, we thought you found God. You was over near the coffee machine speaking to yourself. But never found that man. But what he taught me, I teach today. That's why we have such a high success rate. Is that you really need to know the power you can get. And if you've been chosen to do this shit, which most alcoholics and addicts do and recover, then you have to accept that you're some kind of prophet and you have something that you can never give away. And God told me years ago before I came to America, here's the deal. You've got to go around the world and tell people, guarantee people they can recover. So when I first came to America, I got snarled at, I got laughed at. The medical fraternity tried to strip me of my license. At one point they did. What you're teaching is dangerous. And we just kept going, man. Because I knew I see people recover, I see people get well. So when I started earning, when I started to get wealthy, I hired the best and the most expensive private detective company in Manchester. And after probably 6 or 7 weeks, they come back and say, wait, there's no trace of that guy. We can't find him.
That is insane. Like John was a straight up
Yeah.
angel. Like it's straight up
Yeah,
angel.
I denied that for a few years. And then other things, Daniel, started to happen in my life. Like I was supposed to come to America, and like 6 days before my passport was expired, and it takes 3 weeks to get a passport, and then all of a sudden it comes 3 days later. I mean, just so many things have happened to me in the last 20 years I've been here that I cannot deny that I was chosen. John was an angel. He's looking after me, and I'm doing what I promised God to do. And I
Yeah.
never step down.
Yeah.
And God made me a big guy, and I'm streetwise, I can box, and I can fight with the best of them. So not a lot of people argue. Especially I used to go to Amy, like, what are you talking about? You want to step outside? I've got everything here. God's provided me with everything. You're not going to talk over me, and you're not going to talk down to me. What I'm telling is the truth, and people love it because they get well, man. They get well.
Wow, no, that's crazy. When I read that in the book, I had to reread that like multiple times just because I mean, just the part of you going to the neighbors, you're like knocking on their doors, and they're like, dude, we don't know what you're talking about. And, like no one's lived here for months. Man, that's insane. And then the part where you're
I
talking
know it's
about,
crazy.
but what you're saying about when you moved here and now people are trying to like, try and say that your practices or you don't know what you're talking about. That sounds like some spiritual warfare right there. People trying to come against you, but
Yeah,
you've got
it
something.
was. And when I was at home, John kept saying, "I'm not a Bible guy." John kept saying Isaiah 61, and in the end, I said, "You got to tell me what it means. I don't know what it means." So he said, Isaiah 61, you're going to heal the suffering and bring great news to the families. Isaiah 60, he kept saying it every time I met Isaiah 61. I didn't think anything of it, man. But I came over to America for 2 weeks and stayed. But while I was here, I was doing a church, mega church, working with the youth. So the girl who picked me up at the airport, I was staying with a really nice girl. And she was unemployed. So she said one day, like, will you drop me off? You can, learn how to drive on the left-hand side. And right hand side. So I said, yeah. So I drove her for this interview, and it was about a mile away from the house. It was an architect. So I dropped her off. She went in. I'm sat outside. I don't know what I'm doing, reading or something. She's in there for about 3 or 4 minutes, and she comes out. So I'm like, oh God, that didn't go well. And she put her head through the window and said, hey, he wants to see you. I said, what do you mean he wants to see me? I can't go and dress like this. And she's looked at me and said, he wants to see you. So I'm like, okay. So I went in. We sat down, and I swear on my children's life, he said, we've been waiting for you. And I went, well, I got out of the car as quick as I could. And he went, no, we've been waiting for you. You're going to do some great work over here. I'm just kind of thinking this guy's a loon. And halfway through what he's talking to me, he turned around and said, oh, by the way, Sue, you've got the job. You start Monday. Then he comes straight back to me. And so anyway, he said, you've got to come to the group. You've got to come and speak at the group. We're all waiting for you to come and speak at the group. And so we shook hands, and I'm out the door. And I don't know why, out of curiosity, I turned around and said, what's the group called? And he said, we call ourselves Isaiah 61. And just so many of them things happened to me. I should have died about 9 months.
Wow.
They overdosed me at a hospital. Somebody found me, brought me back to life. It's just story. I got cancer. They took me down to operate. The cancer disappeared. I mean, it's just so many things that's happened to me to then go back and say, John is not an angel, because that would be crazy with the blessings I've had. It's just crazy.
Absolutely. And two, another thing I read in the book, I think I counted a total of, it was when you were, let's see, which chapter was this? This was, give me just 1 second. It was, let's see. It was right before deliverance, but I was talking about, here it is. It was hell is real. And it was talking about the different times. I think it was this chapter, but talking about like the time that you nearly jumped in front of a train, the near overdose. The other one where you try to tie yourself down, and then the other one too, which is crazy, is you're on top of that. Was it an 18-story building, 28-story building? Is one of the other. Like by the grace of God, like every single time, like when you wanted to carry out like your will, which your will was at that time was you're like, I'm
Yeah,
done. But like God's will
yeah,
intervened and he said, like, you've got I'm calling you for a greater things here, and like I'm not done with you. So I just think that's it's a trend, it's a pattern that like you see just like I mean with
yeah,
Isaiah 61, John, the failed suicide attempts, and I think just like for anybody who is listening to this is like God is not done with you yet by no means. So I think that is just it's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah.
So I guess when you're dealing with people like in recovery, are you talking to them about are you talking to them about God? Are you talking to them about Jesus? Like because you know it's obviously was like the most pivotal moment in your like recovery. Like how do you go about that? I guess.
we tell them blatantly at the beginning, it's not an atheist program. If you're an atheist, we surely wish you well and stuff like that. It's none of our business. But if you're not willing to have God come down and be part of your life, then this program's not for you. And
Yeah.
and we're quite adamant about that. It's like I've never seen a chronic alcoholic who's an atheist that's sober today. Haven't seen it. But yeah, God, God's people go, oh, you don't believe in God. That's fine. God is circumstantial. And what I mean
Mm.
by that is we're traveling home from Manchester to Dallas, Texas, where I used to live. It's raining, it's slipping lightning, it's horrible weather, man. It was like this weather was going to take off. Anyway, he did. And we got up to a certain height. And he's on the radio, please do not take seatbelts off. It's rough weather. Hold on, we'll be okay, kind of thing. And then for whatever reason, the plane dropped and everybody grabbed hold of the side of the chair and everybody took a and you could hear a pin drop on that plane, man. And my friend leant over to him and he went, hey, Rob, how many atheists do you think on this plane right now? And I'm like, my God, that's so true. When it gets bad enough, man, you're going to believe, And I
Oh,
found that with,
amen.
with, with journeys. It's like, man, there's certain things that we cannot do. And then the other mind blowing, groundbreaking test that we did was we found out that the mind is power, is energy, sits inside the brain, which is matter. Hence the saying, mind over matter. When your mind connects with an outside source of energy and power, and your neural pathways reroute childhood trauma, your DNA changes.
Your DNA
Your
changes.
freaking DNA
Yeah.
changes, man. That means you're not the same person as you was before. It's ever so slight, but it's traceable, scientifically traceable. We've done so many tests on it. So what that means to me is God's taken over, and this is His doing now. And the old me's dead. It's gone, man. But you know what? It still makes me smile today because I like cars, I like watches. I live in a big house. Me and my wife and three English bulldogs. And people go, "What do you know about homelessness?" I've seen the house you live in. I go, sit down, let me talk to you. What do you know about losing your kids? Or, sit down. Every scenario that they come to me with, I've been through. God taught me through. So there's no scenario I go, oh, yeah, you're right. Nope, been through everything, had everything done to me, survived, got almost beaten to death, had all my teeth knocked out, almost beat people to death. Some of the stuff on the streets was horrific. I used to bare knuckle fight the gypsies when they come to town. I was crazy, but I couldn't freaking die. And that's what we came to. I tried, man. I tried so many times, man.
Yeah.
There's so many things. And then people say to me, how come you're happy every day? You can't be happy every day, surely. And my answer, first of all, he says, who? And the second was, I died twice on the streets of Manchester. Why wouldn't I be happy every day, man? You don't understand what it's like to be me. I got this choice, I got this power, and the power is greater than any human being alive. So if you're
Yeah.
against me, you're really against God. Yeah. If you don't believe in God, man, I bless you to the end, you know. But that's just the way it is. Gotta take this spiritual journey, man. I mean, I don't read the Bible and I don't go to church because I truly believe that He tells me what He wants me to know and do, and He doesn't need me on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. in a certain building. When you've been through what we've been through, you see, I didn't go to hell when I was on the streets, but you know something, I could sure see it from where I was. So when God talks to me, He talks, and I listen.
Mm.
That's what meditation is all about. And then the prayer is I speak, and that's how we communicate. Yeah, God first all the time. Jesus, God first all the time, man. Because like I said on the streets, I can't do this on my own. So people come to me. I do a lot of TV, I do a lot of books, I do all this stuff out there, and people go to me. So Dr. Kelly's a neuroscience, da da da. He's just such an amazing, talented, educated man. And I always say, guys, I wish I could say I was this clever, but this is not me.
Mm-hmm.
This comes from God, and I'm just that vessel. And when you listen to me, you'll get something out of it. And if you don't, it's not for your ears. The haters,
Yeah.
man. I had some haters. I mean, they're beautiful, man. It's like most of them work for me now, by the way, but they want to say something. And what we come up with is a saying to calm all my patients down, and that is anybody who's doing as good as you or better will never criticize you
Mm-mm.
on Facebook, they will never write anything. And I don't want people to do as good as me. I want people to do better than me. I want people to
Absolutely.
thrive. We work with entrepreneurs today, taking them to the next level with businesses. We work with people that are broken, depressed people. It's just phenomenal because we have the power, capital P, to heal. That's just it. Well, look at the stats. Yeah, but look at the stats, man. Look, I mean, that's all I've got to say. Well, you can't offer a money back guarantee. Look at the stats. Come join us. I'll give you a money back guarantee. If you keep following
Hmm.
our program after you leave us and you relapse, I'll refund every money, every piece of dime you put in this office, man. It's not happened yet. And there's been some idiots that don't want it and run away, But if you follow the program, man, it's not my program. That's why it's
Yeah.
guaranteed.
Come on, that's awesome. So, leaning into the back on like just the addiction aspect. So like for those who like love someone is like in denial about their addiction, like what's the best way? Like how do you go about like supporting them or like I don't know, like even because it's not necessarily like you can get them to realize their addiction, like they kind of come to that conclusion on their own. So is there like a way that you'd recommend as far as like supporting people who are in that addiction that just might not be aware of it yet?
Yeah, I mean, parents with children and friends and stuff like that. You have to mention it. Don't be skating around the bush here. People die because of that. You think you're drinking too much. Do you think you're drinking too much? And just be there, dialogue support, man. And then you'll see there'll be a point where they go over and don't want support, and then you've got to get out of there instead of aiding and enabling. You got to have some boundaries for yourself. So yeah, just
Hmm.
start dialogue, man. Nobody wants to admit they got a drink problem, but everybody knows somebody with a drink problem or drug problem, but
Yeah,
nobody wants to
yeah,
admit it. So again, saying is everybody knows somebody who has a drug or alcohol problem, and if you don't, it's probably you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious to see, like, I came out of the recently. I stopped drinking alcohol back in this was back in June, just because whenever I would drink, I would take it to just the extreme, I guess. And I found that like a lot of those like habits that it wasn't often, but there's just times and environments that I'd be in where just like I'd go to a concert or whatever, and I would overdo it. And so I'm curious to see like what's your take on like the college culture. College culture right now is very
Yeah, I
like
love it, man. I love it.
yeah,
If
yeah,
guys, if you don't have a problem with alcohol, if you don't have a problem like generationally with alcohol, and you just go crazy, college stuff like that, good for you, man. Good for you. As
mhm,
you grow older, it's the moderation thing. As you settle down and stuff, it'll all work itself out. But I always tell college guys, no, you got to have a great time, man. And if it gets out of hand, then you seriously. But what I wouldn't want anybody to do is not drink because they think they're an alcoholic because somebody's
mhm,
told them they are. That you've got to go out and make your own decision, man. There was a friend of mine, and he took his son to AA since he was 9 years old, man. So he was convinced, just like his dad, an alcoholic. So when he gets to 16, 17, he's off to college, and he calls me and he said, Dr. Robb, I have a serious question. Don't tell my dad. And I said, yeah. He said, do you think I'm an alcoholic? And I said, well, do you? He went, I don't know. So I said, well, go drink and find out. Everybody was like, you can't say, don't tell me what to say. And it
mhm,
turns out he wasn't. He could drink successfully and he had a great time through college. It's like, you've got to go and try, man. Don't
mhm,
don't put yourself in a position to not enjoy yourself. Towards the end, like 99% of my friends did all that, but drink occasionally or maybe not at all these days. It's a fad you go through, but just be careful.
yeah,
Education is important and knowledge is important. Like parents always say to me, like, hey, listen, when do you think we should tell our children that dad's an alcoholic? I said, probably the ages of 6 and 7. And they go, what? Yeah, kids are not stupid. Little kids, you've got to tell them we have a problem. And they'll grow up. I know loads of people that didn't drink because your parents and grandparents were alcoholic. They have a great life, but you can tell by the tendencies and the traits that they are. They have the alcoholic
yeah,
mind. But it's just stuff. Because remember, alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. It's not the problem, guys. It's the symptom that we end up drinking.
that's good. That's good. Okay, that's good stuff. I guess like leaning more into like tools and like strategies for like recovery. Like, what would you say, are some like practical steps for someone like who might not be able to afford rehab, but like knows their life depends on getting sober? Is there I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's several things. You go to AA, go to NACA, go to church, go to Accelerate Recovery, go to Smart Recovery. Find something that works for you because a lot of the times it's the people you meet in there. are like-minded people. Don't stick around the miserable ones, the ones that piss and moan all the time about how bad their life is. No, go find a group that's good, man. And the reason why the groups like that work is just that we need that camaraderie. We need that, people that we can talk to on our same level. Then go back once, twice a week or something to connect. And then if you don't want to be open about it, you just sensibly talk to a close friend, a close
Hmm.
mouth friend, and walk it through, or do some research on the internet, man. And just, but one thing I want to tell you, right, if you get to the right place, like people like us, 100% success rate of you recovering from whatever you're going through, unless you have severe brain damage. And then you can go on and build empires. You could go on and be that leader that you thought you would never be. And like everybody's born to be a leader. It's just that
Yeah.
people, you used to have dreams when we were young. Like we'd kick a ball around. You go, "Hey John, what do you want to do? I want to be a solicitor. What about you, John? I want to be an actor. What about you? I want to be a pilot." Them ambitions that we had as children. What happened to them? Well, I'll tell you, they were kicked out of us by our family and friends. You can't do that. We live on the projects. You can't do that. It's not true, man. It's not. We
Yeah.
did some research now. Yeah. Got to finish on this. It's getting late. So we did some research in a school. Okay. So we went to a school in England and we told them we're from a scientific research lab. And they were like so excited. Like, what's the deal? But what we can tell you out of like 20 kids, the top three of who's going to go on and be captains of industry and going to be changing the world. And then wait, there's no way. I said, we have a test. So we're allowed to go in. We took the 20 tests. We're given to 20 kids, ages, I don't know, I can't remember, 7 to 11 or something, that age group. And everybody filled the test in and we took them away. And then we said, hey, let's go and check them and we'll be back tomorrow. So the next day we get in and the headmaster's like, I'm dying to find out this. So yeah, we've got a top three. Johnny Smith. Johnny? Yeah, Johnny Smith. He tested really well. Okay, well, I surprised her. Okay. What about Jean? Also, Jean. Jean, are you sure, Jean? Yeah, Jean. And then Billy, he's also going to be a genius. And they like, wow, well, we're taken back by that. I don't really agree with you, but hey, listen, you're the experts. So we went back a year's time and we said, hey, how's our top three going? Because they were on internet and phones by, cell phones by then. So we gets out, goes there, visit. And we said, what's your top three? Oh my God, the headmaster said, this has got to be sent to the government. That test is mind blowing. How the hell do you know? And we said, here's the deal. We picked three names out randomly and we told you they were going to be geniuses. And because you treated them like geniuses, so they become. True story.
What? When
So
did
don't
you?
let
When
anyone
was it?
go on.
I said when was that? What? I'm sorry. You said when did you do this study? Where was it?
Back in England, primary school in Manchester, probably about 78, 79, something like that. I was doing some
Wow.
research stuff. Yeah, and that's what we do. I mean, how easy it is to influence somebody, because this is what we do. Like you smile, if you how easy is it for you to get somebody to do something that you want them to do? So we test and trial everything we say. So we brought 9 actors into the waiting room to pose as patients, and we brought one real patient who didn't know anything. It was just their appointment, and they all sat down in the waiting room. And after 45 seconds, we're all getting comfortable. A buzzer went. And our 9 actors who knew stood up for about 4 or 5 seconds and they sat down. So the woman's kind of looking, didn't say anything. And they all stood up again. So now she's away from her phone and now she's looking what's going on. They all sit down again. The third time, 3 minutes, the third time she stood up with the rest of them. Then she sat down. So one by one, we called them as patients, pretend patients, until she was the only one. And every 45 seconds, a buzzer went. She was the only one left in the waiting room. She stood up. That's how easy it is to convince somebody to do stuff. So if you want to be a millionaire, if you want to be the best father, you want to stay in the empire, do it today. You don't have time. Don't think you have time, guys. You do not have time. Time goes so quickly.
And
So do
and
it
tomorrow's
today.
not
Date that girl,
promised.
buy that house. Yeah,
Yeah. Come on, man.
ask God
Okay.
for direction.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. So, for people who are listening, how
We
can
need a
people
part
connect?
two. We need a part two.
Yeah, we do. I agree. I agree. But so I guess how can people connect with you or just learn more about your work? Where will they find you at?
So if you're listening, guys, and not watching, you'll see I spell my name with 2 B's. If you're watching, Robb, KELLY.com is the website. Dr. Robb Kelly on any search engine. And listen, for this show, just for Daniel Kelly's show, because it's the same name as me, here's the deal. The book out there, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking, which was the last thing my daughter said to me 30 years ago, which now she's my lead therapist, by the way, in my Manchester office. She got in touch with me. I'm going to say, if you come and message me, find me, okay? I'm mention the show, mention Daniel. I'm going to send you a copy of this book and I'm going to get it. I'll sign it myself. I'll pay for the shipping on one condition that when you've read it, you pass it on to somebody else you think would benefit.
That's it. That's it, you guys. You heard it. Definitely check this out. This book just, I mean, it changed my way that I thought about just alcoholism in itself. I really think it's going to soften your heart towards, towards people who struggle with that too. Just because, I mean, we gotta learn to just love people really well. So thank you guys for listening, Dr. Rob. I'm so grateful that we had this encounter, that we connected. So grateful for Courtney for reaching out to me, for connecting us. Shout out Courtney if you ever listen to this. But
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
guys. So thank you so much. And this is Divine Potential, I think episode 11. So appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.